I was recently watching one of Squid School's videos on how to paint faster for your special in 10 seconds, which is a great video to check out. If you haven't watched it, the point of the video was to show players the advantage of painting for your special at the start of the match so you can make the first attacking push in the game. But as I read the comments, I noticed a couple of players asking, how do you do this for non-shooter weapons? Hi, my name is Gus and I specialize in the Slosher weapon class. For this video, I'll give you advice on painting for special for each Slosher weapon and general advice when it comes to using this technique during a game. And if you found this video helpful, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. With that out of the way, let's get started. There's a couple of things you need to take into consideration when painting for special that Jem covered in his video. To go over it quick, do not overlap your shots, plan your route, aim the paint over ledges, and avoid where your teammates are painting. All these tips will help you in your goal of getting your special quickly, but there are some additional details I want you to consider. First, gear matters a lot if you want to paint for specials fast for sloshers. Shooters as an overall class paint incredibly well, so painting for your special within the first 10 seconds with a slosher will be overall more difficult compared to a shooter. 10 seconds is a good number to aim for, but as long as it's around the 10-second mark, it's okay. You can also make certain builds to maximize your paint and special output, but I won't cover gear abilities in detail for this video. If you are interested, I am planning on releasing an updated video on the best abilities for sloshers, so if you like to see that, make sure to subscribe. Second, I want to stress that not all sloshers, or weapons in general, will paint for their special within the first 10 seconds of the match. It depends on the strengths and weaknesses of the main weapon, its weapon kit, your team composition, how strong the special is in the meta, and your primary responsibility in a team composition. To give you a good example of why you may or may not go for special in the first 10 seconds, let's focus on the primary responsibility to a team factor by looking at two Slosher weapons. Slosher and Machine are weapons that will likely not be using this strategy, and that's because of their primary role as a slayer in a match. Both are high damage weapons with good range, but share a weakness of not being the best painters. Slosher can use its long range to cover as much ground, you can shoot straight or curve your sloshes to paint, but since the main weapon is not designed to paint incredibly well, and its subs are designed to combo with the main weapon instead, it's better suited as a fighter, so you want to prioritize going for a splat or an assist early as opposed to building up a special in the first 10 seconds. As for Machine, you could use its high strafe speed to move up and paint different areas of the stage, but because of this weapon's poor ink efficiency and slow shooting speed, it would be better using the weapon's strengths with its huge hitbox and high damage to go for a splat or an assist as well. Basically, with these weapons, focusing on taking fights initially as opposed to painting for special in the first 10 seconds will prioritize using the weapon's strengths as opposed to their weaknesses. It fulfills their role in a team composition. With these four, getting 10-second initial specials will be difficult, especially for a 220p machine. You'll likely build the special over the course of the match, so get your special when you need it to contest the objective, for example, and don't worry about getting it at the very start of the match. That being said, for these next set of sloshers, I can see someone arguing that you should go for your special in the first 10 seconds, but I'll provide my personal experience and expertise for each of them. Starting with Slosher, this weapon has good painting capabilities that'll help it get its special quickly in the first 10 seconds. Given the strengths of both of their specials, I recommend charging for them early on, especially for the Slosher Nouveau. My advice when painting for special with Slosher is to not overlap the shots. Shooting side by side may be something that's useful for turf war, but by spreading the Slosher's 3 sloshes, it can help with painting more ground, and therefore getting you better special output. Each variant has something that'll help the weapon get its special quickly. The vanilla variant has a 180p special, and even without special charge, it's pretty easy getting your inkjet in about 10 seconds. As for Slosher Nouveau, this weapon does have a 210p special, but by using fizzy bombs alongside the main weapon to paint, and with the use of special charge up and ink saver sub, you can get Tacticooler fairly quick. My advice is to throw your fizzy bombs in areas with flat and long terrain while you paint with your main weapon, or stack a lot of special charge up. Blob Lobber as a main weapon paints incredibly well, so getting your special will not be as difficult. Both Blob specials are pretty good, so if you want to charge up an Ink Storm or Kraken to begin a push, that's completely okay. Blob shoots 4 sloshes of blobs. When you slightly flick your controller, you can actually separate all of them to head in different directions. This can prevent the paint from overlapping, but the paint difference is not that significant. So overlapping your shots is not that big of an issue. You just want to make sure that the first blob is sent in an area that you want to paint the most, because the first blob is the only one that leaves a trail under it and benefits the most to building a special. Vanilla Blob also is a 190p special and has a sprinkler, which is very useful when going for your special early on. Basically, throw the sprinkler in a large and wide area while you move forward and paint in areas where the sprinkler isn't painting. Blob Deco unfortunately does not have a painting sub, and it is a 200p special, but because Blob as a main weapon already paints well, it won't be that much of an issue to get Kraken Royale in the first 10 seconds, and if you do have trouble, attach some special charge up and Inksaver main to help you. We finally move on to the backline weapon of Sloshers, the Slosher, and this weapon paints a lot. The key to painting with this weapon is abusing its long range. When you shoot with this weapon, it leaves a trail of ink with a large slosh at the end. Basically, get on high ground and look for areas that are unpainted. With Explo, I will admittedly say that because of how slow this weapon is overall, and it does not have subs to help with its paint, it may be difficult to even get the special quickly. Explo gradually gets his specials over time, so I would probably advise you not to worry so much about getting a 10-second special with this weapon. And finally, we move to Dreadringer, which is unique in that it shoots 2 sloshes as opposed to 1. For this weapon, rather than throwing the 2 sloshes overlapping each other, you can slightly flick and change the angles of the sloshes to increase your paint output. Even if you decide not to flick, this weapon already paints a lot with the overlapping shots. It's also a 190p special, so it'll help increase your chances of getting an opening special. I will say that for Dread, it does go back to our conversation about special priority. Based on the team comp, would an initial Reef Slider or Wave Breaker help increase your chances of making a successful push? Maybe, it really depends on the situation in the opening. But my advice is don't worry so much about a 10-second opening special with Dread. At the end of this video, you might be saying, well, what about blasters? What about splatlings? What about chargers? I'm sure you caught on to the message I'm trying to get across. Even though I'm focusing on sloshers, it depends on the weapon. If your weapon paints well, if your special increases your odds to push, if it's your job to use this technique, that's something that you'll be able to identify. And knowing when to do this will only take trial and error, and that's okay. That's the process of learning.